Now, if we look at Freud's theory on psychosocial development, he states that in the stages of age 6 to puberty, most of that is spent on play, learning, and socialization. If we look at my interviewee, she spent this time feeling isolated and in survival mode in an abusive household. She was also sent to live with her aunt, who lived across the street, until she was 12 and forced to reside back with the abusive father on a regular basis. From puberty on, Freud states that the pleasure centers on love, work, and sexual maturity. At this point, the interviewee was uprooted to another state, still abused, and eventually dropped out of school. So all of the checkpoints and milestones that needed to be hit in any of the stages in Freud's theory, the interviewee was unable to attach to those. Those milestones were never reached. With the theory limitations, one of the theories that I chose to state my theory limitations on is that in Erikson's, multiple stages in the interviewee's life cause stress and anxiety. So I don't think that there's a way to narrow down to one stage. It's difficult to choose just one to discuss with this individual when every stage of her life had multiple events that led up to long-term lack of self-worth, inability to make long-standing friendships, people-pleasing, codependency. And she was traumatized and missed many of those critical development stages along the way. I would say that as a social worker, the first places that my interviewee would need to begin would be going all the way back to acceptance of who her father was, and that doesn't mean that that's that's what you are, who you deserve, but it's so obvious in how her life turned out, how much she was affected by his abuse. Later in life, she had said that he developed Alzheimer's and ended up in a home, and whenever he needed anything, the sisters and everyone called her to go and do what needed to be done. And she did it. And that's even more of a symbol of, that codependency and just probably wanting to see the father approve or love her, because she never felt loved by her father. Her mother outlived everyone, lived to be 92. And she found out later how strong her mom was. She said that, at that point, like she couldn't leave the husband because she was pregnant 14 times, which is, almost 14 years of your life. 4 of her pregnancies, back then, you had to carry to full term whether they lived or not. So 4 of them, the baby died at 3 months, and she had to carry them full term. Well, she was a strong woman that taught, I think, my mom a lot of her survival skills, but that's my oral PowerPoint presentation. Thanks.